This practice is perfect for pre planning before you have a long flight, before you have to go into a long meeting where you're sitting a long time, before you have to sit in front of your computer, because it opens the chest and your hips and it's very stimulating. We'll start in a seated position. If you're not already sitting on a blanket or a block, you might want to do that. So place your hands in this cactus pose with your fingers spread. See if you can keep your navel looking forward as you slowly just work side to side, work this cactus pose side to side. This upper chest area tends to get really tight. And when we travel and when we're confined to a really small space, we tend to take the heads of our arm bones forward. And that just tends to contract the upper chest even more. Start to go just a little bit faster here. And draw your elbows slightly more forward than your hands and keep on just moving side to side while trying to keep the navel looking forward so your pelvis stays steady. So we're not twisting the low back as much as we're just trying to get a little bit more spaciousness in the upper chest. Keep that and go just a little bit faster. Just move side to side. Fingers are spread. Eyes are bright or closed, whichever works for you. Sometimes keeping your eyes open makes you slightly dizzy, but see how you can just attune to the breath and see how just moving the arms tends to just kind of make you feel like you're kind of breaking through this contracted upper chest area. Now go a little bit faster. And as you do, just notice how maybe the arms fatigue just slightly, but see if you can keep the upper arms alive with a nice spread to the fingers as you draw side to side in this nice twisting action. And slowly release your hands down, come to all fours position. And in all fours position, come to this tabletop position. And with your toes tucked under, look back and line up your feet right behind your knees. Take your pelvis back. Just draw back really close to your heels if possible. And inhale, lift yourself up. Now, in tabletop position, reach your right leg up in the air. Reach it straight back to get a nice long stretch there. Step the right foot just to the outer right hand. So step it way forward, swing it way forward. So from here, with your hands to the inside of the right foot, just draw your pelvis back again. Now draw your pelvis way forward. You can keep the hands right where they are. Draw the pelvis way forward. So now the right knee is forward of your ankle for most of us. Now, if that is not right for your knee, please just kind of honor where your knees are at here. Now do that one more time. So draw way back. So the front leg, the right leg, you get a little hamstring stretch. Now draw that knee way forward and step it back to come to tabletop position again. In tabletop position, tuck your toes under, inhale, lift your chin and draw your heart forward. Exhale, draw your pelvis back. It's almost like you're sitting on your heels. Inhale, all fours position. Reach your left leg straight back in the air. Spread the toes to engage nicely. Step your foot to the outside of your left hand. And in the same way we just did, just draw your pelvis back so you start to wake up the pelvic area here. When you're sitting a lot, of course, pelvis tends to get really tight, pelvic muscles. And so draw the knee forward now and drop the pelvis down. Open your heart and draw back. Again, the hands are inside the left foot. As you're starting to straighten the leg, just draw your heart down toward the floor. Inhale, come in this lunge pose. Open your heart. And exhale, come back to all fours position. In all fours position, tuck your toes under, draw your pelvis way back. Now that you've got the hang of that, let's do that cycle slightly faster here. Inhale, come up to all fours, lift your right leg up and in the air, reach it straight back. And now swing it to the outer right hand. Press it down, and in the same way we've been doing, take the pelvis back first, take the pelvis forward, and drop your pelvis down. And one more time, draw back and come forward. And all fours position again. Tuck your toes under, draw your pelvis way back, put more weight toward your heels. Inhale, all fours position as the left leg lifts up and reaches back. Bend your knee and swing your foot to the outer left hand. Draw your pelvis back. Draw your pelvis forward. And again, draw the pelvis back. Draw your pelvis forward. Come back to all fours position. In all fours position, your choice here. You can come to downward facing dog or child's pose or puppy dog, whichever works for you. Just kind of check in here. Check in with your breath, especially. See how your breath can serve to expand your upper back. Have a nice softness in the facial muscles, which allows you to easily take in more fullness of the in breath and the out breath. Take 3 more breaths in whatever pose you chose. Now look forward and make your way to the front of the mat. When you come to the front of the mat, come to Tadasana. And in Tadasana, just take hold of your wrists, hold on to your wrists. And once again, let's kind of open up the chest here as you swing your elbow frame side to side. And first, you just take it down toward the navel. So each movement just creates an opening in a different space. Now we'll take the movement to the middle range, right to the shoulder height, draw side to side. And again, we're not twisting as much as we're just trying to move the elbows side to side. Now take the hands over your head and go side to side once again, just to create a little bit more opening for your breath. And release your hands down to the side. Stand in Tadasana and just notice for yourself after these 2 chest openers we've done in our practice. Can you feel the spaciousness that you get just from simple movements like that to open the upper chest? We want to allow the muscles to receive fullness in the breath, to massage those muscles. In breath, reach your arms up and back. Exhale, have that fullness that you gained from those movements in the upper chest as you come down to the earth. Place your hands right alongside your ankles to take your right leg back. Balance yourself to come to a high lunge pose. So rather than going to this full crescent pose, take your hands to your head, interlace your fingers, draw your elbows toward one another. Now, see if it's not a full back bend, what we're doing is trying to lengthen from your armpit to your elbows. Try to get the elbows as tall as possible while dropping your pelvis down. And I realize it's kind of a balance pose. See if you can stay balanced as you keep on lifting your elbows up. From here, free your hands, reach your hands up, spread your fingers, take your gaze up, release your hands down to the mat. Come to a plank position or all fours position. Pause there. Lower yourself to the earth. On the in-breath, draw your heart forward, lift up slightly. Exhale and soften. 2 more cycles here. In-breath as you pulse up, lifting up. Exhale, soften. One more time. Inhale, pulse up. Exhale, soften. Come through all fours position to either downward facing dog or child's pose, and just pause. Reflect on the breath. Find ease in the breath, even as you rediscover a natural rhythm to your breath. Breathe in deep and breathe out long. 2 more. Breathe in deep and breathe out long. 1 more. Breathe in, breathe out. Look forward toward your hands and make your way up to the front of the mat. Place your hands to your low back and rise up. Tadasana again. Pause there. Open the upper chest. Engage your arms by spreading your fingers. Root down from the pelvis to the earth. Now expand fully from the pelvis to the crown of the head, out through your fingertips. Reach your arms up and back. Exhale, come to your forward fold and place your hands alongside your ankles to take your left leg back. Come to a high lunge. Balance yourself first. Just pause there. Take your arms up so that your fingers interlace right at your head. Draw your elbows in toward each other. See if you can start to shift your gaze so your gaze starts looking up toward the sky. Reach from your armpit to your elbow. See if you can make that even longer. Create this nice fullness to the upper chest. From here, extend your arms up, spread your fingers, reach your gaze up, reach your hands back. Exhale, release your hands down. Come either to all fours or a plank position. Pause there. Lower yourself to the mat. On the next in-breath, draw your heart forward. On the exhale breath, soften down. 2 more cycles here. In-breath, baby cobra, as you just open the upper chest like we've been working on. Exhale as you soften. And one more time. Inhale and exhale. Come to all fours position in either downward facing dog or child's pose or puppy dog, some pose that just allows you to just pause here. Reflect on the breath. Find that ease in the breath. And as we do, checking into the breath, we allow the armpits to lift, whether you're in child's pose or downward dog or whatever. See if you can draw the shoulders away from the floor to let the heart just soften toward the floor more. 2 more breaths. 1 more. Let's all meet in tabletop position, all fours position. And in all fours position, interlace your fingers and press your forearms down to the mat. And as you press your forearms down to the mat, hug your elbows in toward each other and take your head down to actually touch the mat. Now, this is a way to stimulate the pineal gland here. So you want to actually put weight on your head. So as you press your head down, notice how for some of us, it just kind of feels like the sides of the neck kind of collapse. So see if you can get your shoulder blades to lift even as you're reaching your head down. Now, this might be just perfect for you. Some of you can put a little bit more weight on your head. Press your forearms down so your forearms and your head are bearing weight. And you might be able to lift your knees up. Now, if you're feeling a lot of pressure in the neck, please don't do that. Just take your knees back down. So some of you might practice headstand regularly, so feel free to start that practice if that's for you. Others, just see if you can walk your feet in slightly. We'll just be pausing here as a way to kind of stimulate that pineal gland. So as you press your forearms down, it's a very strong action of the arms. You might want to lift one leg up just to expand really fully and release it down, and have the other leg lift up and release it down. Bend your knees and come down so that your elbows now are pressing the mat. Your fingers are interlaced, or you can take your hands in a prayer position. And as you press your elbows down, once again, we're trying to get as much length from the armpit to the elbows. Even as the elbows are pressing down, release your head. So it's kind of in the same form that we were just working in, but now we're giving a lot more pressure to the elbows, not the forearms. Keep a nice lift in the shoulders, a nice softness in the facial muscles. And slowly release to come up to stand again in Tadasana. So as you come to the front of the mat to stand, pause there. And sometimes being upside down like that just requires a little bit more time to feel stability. So please take your time. Stand tall, stand with a nice open chest. Take your arms behind you in the same way that we did when we were holding onto our wrists and moving side to side in the front. Hold on to your wrists or your elbows. And if holding onto the elbows makes everything tight in the neck, then don't do that. Just hold on to your wrists. And step your right leg back. have both legs nice and straight. Take more weight to the back leg, so lean back to open the chest. Exhale, draw your chest forward now as you keep the stability of the back leg. Draw your heart down and just come to that point where you feel like, okay, I'm starting to feel the back side of my front leg now, starting to feel the hamstrings a little bit. So just pause there. Don't go too deep. Pause there. Inhale and lift up just slightly away from the front leg. Now exhale, see if you can go a little bit deeper, just a little bit deeper. So surely the back calf muscle, you're feeling that. See if you can get the front leg more engaged by drawing from the toes to the kneecap. Draw the kneecap up toward the pelvis as you soften down. So the front leg engages more just by tightening the top side of the leg. Just by contracting the quadricep, you can get more length in the hamstring. Press down through the back foot to inhale and lift yourself up. Remember which arm is on top and release your arms. Pause here in Tadasana. Notice the difference, one side compared to the other. Step your left foot back. Now, remembering which arm was on top, have that arm be on bottom as you hold on to your wrists or your elbow frame. Get steady in your stance and take more weight back to your back foot to open your chest really nicely. Keep that nice opening in the upper chest. Exhale. Keep rooted through the back foot to come down. Just a pretty easy forward fold here. We want to just pause here, kind of reflect before we go a little bit deeper. Part of that reflection is to reflect on the breath. Allow your breath to help you kind of bob up away from the earth on the in-breath. And the exhale breath just allows you to soften down more. Now, surely you're feeling your back calf muscle, your Achilles tendon nicely. Now, see if we can get the front leg more involved, more action in the front leg. And that is from the toes to the kneecap, lifting the kneecap up, engaging the thigh muscles, front thigh muscles, to lengthen the backside. And notice how all of that work on the front leg allows you to go a little bit deeper in your forward fold. Inhale, root down to lift yourself up out of the pose. And exhale, release your hands, step your back foot forward and pause. Close your eyes, receive your breath. And the nice ease of the in-breath and the out-breath. And now with your eyes bright, step wide on your mat. In this wide stance, turn your right toes out. Now let's combine some of the opening of the upper chest with the hamstring work. So inhale, lift your arms up, bend your knee. That's it. Draw a little bit deeper down in Virabhadrasana 2. From here, sweep your front hand back, reach your top arm over, so both legs are straight now. Now do that 2 more times. So inhale, Virabhadrasana 2. Take your gaze out over your extended right hand. Exhale toward triangle pose as you straighten your leg, but reach your bottom hand toward the back leg now. One more time. Inhale, Virabhadrasana 2. Settle deeper in the pose. Exhale, reach over. Get length all the way from the pelvis to the fingertips. And inhale, lift yourself up and release your hands. Pause with your feet parallel. Check out the alignment of your feet. Bend your knees just slightly to pull the legs in toward each other. Keep that same pulling in action even as you turn your foot out. Pull in again, draw into the midline. Keep drawing into the midline even as you drop into the pose. Repeat that action. Pull to the midline before expanding out to the fullness of Virabhadrasana number 2. Keep your back leg so strong, soften even more, and slowly come toward a straight front leg as you reach your front hand now back to the back leg, and the back arm is reaching over your head. And inhale, lift yourself up. So these actions start to work the hips, the hamstrings, lengthening the side body for more fullness to your breath. So as you come toward a straight leg pose, see how the lifted arm can give you even more space from the pelvis all the way to the armpit. You feel that nice spaciousness. And one more time, bend the front knee, drop yourself down, and come towards straight leg, reach over, and inhale, lift yourself up. Very good. Release your hands and parallel your feet. Take your hands right to your hips, slight bend to the knees so you can pull the feet in toward each other. Now travel your hands to your low back with your palms pressing the low back with your elbows hugging in. Draw your heart down toward the earth. Just soften here. Have a nice ease with your breath. With your knees bent, hug your feet in toward each other. Inhale to lift yourself up and heel toe your feet in toward each other. Come to a squat position if you can. If squat's not working for you, then just come all the way to sit down. We'll just pause here for a moment before all meeting in a seated position. So in the seated position, start in Dandasana, this straight leg pose, and just kind of check out to see that the backs of your legs, in fact, feel a little bit more stimulated, a little bit more elongated. From here, bend your right knee and step the foot just a little bit farther away from the leg, so it's greater than hip distance from the foot to the knee. Keep one leg straight and take your strap. Some of you may not need a strap, but the strap just gives you a little bit more space. So take the strap around your foot. Draw your heart forward. So as you walk your hands toward your foot, keep your bent leg really firmly planted. Keep on reaching your heart toward your foot and notice your bent legs. Sometimes that right sit bone wants to lift there. So see if you can take a little bit more weight to it so you feel equally balanced, one side compared to the other. Pelvis is very secure on the mat. And inhale, lift yourself up. Trade sides here. So bend your left leg, step your foot wide, and take your strap just around the base of the foot. Give yourself plenty of room to move inside the knee as you take your hands wide, as you reach your heart toward your toe tips. Lift your elbows up. Keep a strong action of the bent leg as you keep reaching your heart toward the toes. Just soften the breath, soften your facial muscles. And inhale, rise up. Now you can do the same pose we just did, which is foot on the floor and the bent leg side, or you can have your knee to the side. Now, for some of us, that just does not work with the knee, so better to just have the foot firmly down. But if you can come to the knee to the side, you might want to just use a block or something to support your right knee. That will make sure that the knee is safe. But if you can come to the full pose of Janu Shirshasana, feel free to do that too. Take the strap around the base of the left foot. Draw your heart toward the left foot. Just inch your fingers toward the foot. And notice again, you want to really support that back leg and make any adjustments you need. Sometimes just putting a washcloth behind the knee gives your knee joint so much more space in this pose. That is behind the bent knee. Just soften here in the pose. Just attune to your breath. And inhale, lift yourself up. Let's come to the opposite side here. So straighten your right leg, bend your left, and you can either plant your foot like we did in the last version of this action, or bend your knee. Take your strap around the base of the right foot. First, get tall. Second, draw your heart forward. And just not going too far. We're just trying to get length here to the side body. It always feels like on the straight leg side, in other words, on the right side ribs here, you don't feel as much length as on the left side ribs. You can lift your right shoulder higher as a way to get that length on the right side. Have your breath continue to assist you to go a little bit deeper. And inhale to lift yourself out of the pose to come down to a supine pose with your knees bent, lie on your back. And pause here. Keep your strap handy. With your right hand at your right knee, just draw your right knee over to the right side and just make circles here with your knee while keeping your left pelvic tip from tipping up. You want to keep the pelvic points parallel. Take your knee in the opposite direction. And now that you've got that hip nice and open, take your strap around your right foot. Reach your right foot straight up. Hold on to the strap with two hands and draw your toes just slightly forward more. And as you do, notice how flat the low back becomes. For now, let's allow that to be as you just work the back side of the leg nicely. But as you come out of this pose, you want to find that curve again. So take your foot further back so that you find the lumbar curve. Draw your right foot over toward the right side as you externally rotate your legs. So the right toes are looking down toward the floor. Now notice if your left hand is at your hip point, the right hip point is lower than the left. So keep your left hip point down. Inhale, lift your foot up and release your strap. Draw your left knee in toward your ribs and put your left palm just at the left knee. Activate your toes so that leg is still active and make circles. Take your knee as wide in the circle as possible. Draw way wide to the side. And now go the opposite direction in the movement. And now take your strap, place it around your foot, reach your foot up toward the sky. Take hold of the strap in two hands. Take your hands wider apart from one another. Reach your toes forward so you feel a little stretch in the back of the calf muscle, the hamstring. And for now, you'll notice that that is kind of sacrificing your lumbar curve. So let's back off so that you can find the curve first before taking your foot to the left side. So hold on to the strap with the left hand. Free your right hand to your pelvic point. Press the palm of your hand to your pelvic point as a way to just kind of adjust your pose. Externally, rotate your left foot. Draw it down. Toes draw down toward the earth. Keep your leg very active. Keep your breath flowing really nicely. Inhale, lift your foot up. Exhale, take your strap to the side. Take your pelvis right under, right on top of a block. So lift your pelvis up and settle it on a block. And that block can be on its lowest height, the middle height, probably not the tall height for this. We'll be lifting our feet up to come to the supported shoulder stand, Sarvangasana. So you might want to bend your knees just slightly there so that we can keep attuned to that lumbar curve. With your feet lifted, this pose has a very calming effect. It's very good for the thyroid. With the eyes softly closed, just to take your attention to your breath. Soften your facial muscles. Breathe in deep and breathe out long. If your legs get fatigued, you can bend the knees a little bit more. Let's see if you can kind of stay with the breath with your feet lifted. This pose has such restorative qualities. It's called the Queen of the Asanas. Because of its rejuvenating, restorative actions. You can keep your feet up if you wish for a little bit longer. Or for you, if it's time to take your feet down, by all means, do that. If your feet are down, you need to move your block away from your low back so you can begin to settle into Shavasana. And if you haven't already, come to Shavasana. We work to open the upper chest in the practice through movements of the arms, through getting length from the armpit to the elbow. So see how that part of the practice now influences your Shavasana. As you assimilate the actions of the poses that we did today, can you notice how it's taking fullness to the upper chest area gives you this sense of vitality, of spaciousness, of power and courage. You feel bigger and stronger. We did some lunge poses to open the pelvic area. To ensure that the pelvis is open and very solid. It's our fulcrum point. With its steadiness, we allow the limbs, the arms, the legs to relax completely. And we did several things to open the back side of the legs. And through that, we just honor the support of the lumbar curve by lengthening the hamstrings and combining that with nice, easeful practice of the breath. We start to see how that lengthening of the back side of the legs starts to influence and stabilize the lumbar area. Breathe in deep and breathe out long. Breathe in deep Breathe out long. Breathe in deep. And breathe out long. Continue to enjoy your Shavasana, or if you need to move on to other activities in your day, please do so now. Namaste.